Hello and welcome to Carolina Classrooms. I'm Dawn Samples. Tonight is all about helping you, parents and students, get information about applying for and financing a college education. Joining us are financial aid experts from South Carolina colleges and state agencies. They're going to help share valuable information, so you may want to hit that record button now. And as always, you can find this and other episodes of Carolina Classrooms on our website, scetv.org/Carolina Classrooms. We'll hear a short presentation from each of our guests, and then they'll take questions from our viewers. You can send your questions now to Carolina Classrooms at scetv.org or call us at 1-800-763-3881. We have a lot of ground to cover tonight, so let's get started with our first guest, Joey Derrick, Director of Student Financial Aid at the University of South Carolina.
There are basically four sources of financial aid that are available to students who are attending college. The first and probably the largest are the federal sources of aid. Those are primarily loans, also several grant programs for needy students. The next is state, and the state programs encompass many of the common South Carolina programs that you may have heard of, such as the Life Scholarship and Palmetto Fellows programs. There are a handful of state grant programs also based upon your need. The third source of aid comes from the institution itself, and those are often in the form of scholarships, many times based upon merit or perhaps a special talent, such as music or dance. And the fourth source are external programs, things that you may find in your community, such as scholarships from Kiwanis clubs, Rotary clubs, perhaps your church, programs through employers, a whole host of things and programs that can help you cover the cost of tuition outside of federal, state, and institutional sources. There are basically four types of financial aid. The first type is scholarships, and scholarships are what we call gift aid, which means they do not have to be repaid. The second source of aid is referred to as a grant. Grants are also gift aid, which means they do not have to be repaid. Grants are often based upon a student and family's financial situation. The third source are work programs. Many of those are considered student employment on and around a campus or university. And one of the more popular programs within that is the Federal Work-Study Program. The fourth source of aid is a loan program. Loans are by far the largest programs that are used to cover costs at institutions. They come from both federal sources and from private sources. Many folks are leery about borrowing, and the truth of the matter is, in this day and age, oftentimes borrowing is a necessity rather than a luxury. One of the best things I think a family and a student can do as they prepare for college is to be creative about your financing. Try to think outside the box. Many times folks focus on trying to achieve the large, prestigious university scholarships, for which there are very few, when at the same time a student could put together a package of smaller scholarships from various external sources that would be equal to or greater than the institutional scholarship they may consider otherwise. We generally start making awards for students in April. We try to make awards on April the 1st. We make awards until we run out of money. So you want to make sure that you're one of the earliest filers, so file early. Make sure that you have all things in place and respond to any requests for additional information so that you can be considered for the best aid package available.
So Joey, if you could just talk to us a little bit about some of the things you just shared with us. You were saying to file early, so what would you consider early?
Well, Dawn, early is new now for 2017-18. For a long time, we told folks to file as soon as they could after January 1st. That's when the FAFSA used to be available. Now, the FAFSA is available October 1st of each year, much earlier. So we encourage folks to file as soon as possible after October 1st so they can be considered for the best aid packages at USC Columbia.
Okay, so we already have them. People are already filing now and begin in October for next fall.
That's right.
What is the expectation of time for after you file to find out what you've qualified for, what you could expect?
For the upcoming aid year for 2017-18, we're going to start making awards on April the 1st. So a little more time there. We want to give folks plenty of time to get their FAFSAs in, clear up any discrepancies, respond to requests we have, and get as many people in there as we can to make as many awards as we can. So right now, April the 1st is still the deadline, and then going forward for 18-19, we'll perhaps look at a different date.
Okay, and if you could give advice to students out there about how many years in advance should they start exploring their options for?
I would suggest as early as possible. It was interesting, I had this very discussion with a family not that long ago whose student is in middle school. I encourage them to look as early as possible and be prepared so that when you get to high school and you're working hard and you're studying hard, that you know exactly what you can do to earn scholarships, to earn grants, and whatever avenues you can take. Start as early as possible, and whatever you think that is, start even earlier.
Okay, so even middle school's not too early.
Absolutely.
Good, that's good to know. I hear that sometimes from some middle schoolers. So next we're going to go to the upstate, and we're going to hear from Jennifer Williams, Assistant Director for Systems and Technology at Clemson.
The first step for anyone who is planning to apply for financial aid is to complete the free application for Federal Student Aid, or FAFSA. The FAFSA is a free application. Most schools use the FAFSA to make determinations for federal aid. Some use it for state aid, and then some schools use this to determine eligibility for institutional need-based grants. So it is important to fill this out. Most schools have a deadline, so it's important to check with the school that you're applying for to make sure that you're meeting the deadlines that they have for freshmen or returning students. Some of the grants that you apply for with the FAFSA are the Pell Grant or the Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, and these do require the FAFSA, but that's the only application that you have to fill out for those grants. One of the largest types of scholarships is institutional scholarships. Each school has their own scholarships that they award to their students. These are funded by the university. Some have a separate application, but most use the admissions application. There can be some priority deadlines for application for admission, as well as if these scholarships do have a separate application, there could be a deadline. So I would encourage all students to check with the school that they're applying with. Most of these things will be posted prominently on their website. Another type of scholarship are external scholarships or third-party scholarships. These typically require applications to outside agencies. Some examples of this would be National Merit or ROTC or the Gates Millennium Scholarship. The student really has to do the legwork on these scholarships, so we encourage them to start early. And again, it's important to check the website of the school that you're attending. Most schools will provide you some information to guide you along the way. The state of South Carolina has a really great scholarship program for our residents. The only application for the state scholarship is for the Palmetto Fellows Scholarship. And in order to apply for this, you actually have to meet with your high school guidance counselor to fill out the application. There are 2 deadlines to apply for the Palmetto Fellows. One of those deadlines was in December, on December 15th, but there is a second deadline, and that's June the 15th. I would encourage all students who feel like they may qualify for the Palmetto Fellows to meet with their guidance counselor and fill out that application before that deadline. The school that you are applying to will get notification from CHE of your eligibility and will make that available to you on your award letter. Most students, after applying for scholarships, still find that they have to supplement their award package with student loans. The FAFSA, the free application for federal aid, is still the only application that we require for federal student loans. So as long as you filled out that application, then the school that you have applied to will notify you of the amount of your eligibility. Unfortunately, student loans don't always cover the balance, so some students and their parents find that they have to also apply for a parent loan. The parent loan is a little different. It does require a separate application because your parent is the one that's actually applying for this loan, and the parent is the one that will repay the loan once you have graduated. There are also private loans for students. Sometimes your parent can't or is not willing to apply for the parent loan, and in those cases there are private lenders that will loan money to students. Most of these require the student to have a co-signer, and that could be your parent or another family member, anyone who's willing to co-sign with you. These are a little different because they are private organizations that you're borrowing from. So when you go into repayment, you're paying this private loan company, not the federal government. In the state of South Carolina, the most popular of these types of loans comes from the South Carolina Student Loan Corporation. Most types of student loans allow students a grace period, usually that's 6 months after you graduate or you're no longer attending at least half time. Once your grace period is over, then if you have a student loan through the federal government, then you would make your payments directly to the federal government. If you have a private loan, then you're making those payments to that private lender. So for students who do have both types of these loans, you will have separate monthly payments once you go into repayment. Most schools do offer a payment plan. Typically students do have to apply for these, so you will need to check with your school to see what's available. But typically your bill will be split up into a certain number of monthly payments, and then you would be responsible for making those payments during the semester. Every school does this a little bit differently, so I would encourage you to check with your school to see how you apply and then how your payments are determined. When you have questions, you should contact the school. The financial aid officers there are there because they like to help students. That is their passion. And so when you have a question, whether you're attending that school or not, they're going to provide the answers and try to guide you in the right way to make sure that you're successful. So I would say check the websites and definitely contact us when you have questions, because we're there to help.
Welcome, Jennifer. We're glad to have you here this evening too. And there's a lot of information. That's a lot for students to kind of, and their parents to be digging through. Would you say that one of the first contacts that maybe they might want to make is with a counselor at the high school to find out which direction to go in, even in terms of contacting the universities, or what would be your recommendation there?
Yes, I would definitely encourage students to check with their guidance counselor. In the state of South Carolina, we have an organization of financial aid administrators, and we work closely with guidance counselors to make sure that they know the information that students need in order to be successful and to get into college that they want to get into. However, there are always situations where you just need to go to your school, and like I said in the video, the counselors at the school, at the college of your choice, are there to help you, and so we. This time of the year, we see students and parents in person, or we do phone interviews. So if you're, if you're applying from a distance to where it would be hard to drive in, then we would take a phone call from you and discuss your options and any issues that you think you might have, and try to find how we can help you to work through those.
So do students need to have already identified a school they want to apply to before they can apply for this?
You can contact any school, and the counselors there are going to try to help you. But if there is a school that you're interested in, it's probably good to call that school. Okay. Joey was mentioning the deadlines at USC Columbia. At Clemson, we have different deadlines. So if there is a school that's specific, that you're specifically interested in, I would contact that school or check out their website, because while the rules and regulations are the same and apply the same everywhere, there are things that could be different. So it's good to check with the school that you're interested in. But if you don't know where you want to go and you still have questions, we're there to help. So.
That's good to know. Thank you. Okay, so we are going to continue now with Aria Simmons, who is the Assistant Director of Financial Aid at Midlands Technical College. Okay, Aria, I'm sorry. I was thinking we were going to video. So, Aria, do you want to talk to us a little bit about Midlands Tech and what that looks like? How can students find out more about getting financial aid to go to Midlands Tech?
Okay. Very similar to the four-year institutions, the two-year technical colleges in the state of South Carolina. We also have information that we advertise on our websites. What we like to strongly encourage students and parents to do is to make sure that they're applying for the financial aid applications and submitting them early in advance. As my colleagues have said, it's available much earlier now. So one of the main components is, the first step is for us is to receive your financial aid application. The deadlines that we have not changed for the 17-18 academic year, but they will change for the 18-19 academic year. Because we are, everything is going to be moving up now. We want to make sure that we're getting information to students much sooner. One important factor that we need all of our students and everyone to remember for the 17-18 academic year is you will use the same tax information that you used for your 16-17 academic year. So that's going to be a learning curve for a lot of people. In the 17-18 academic year, you'll be using the 2015 tax year, and that's what we call prior tax year.
Okay, so people may have some questions about that because that might not always be clear to everyone.
Yes.
So they would just need to contact
They can
the
contact
office at
any
Midlands
local
Tech.
financial aid
Okay,
office.
okay.
As Jennifer has stated, if you have a school that you do have intentions to enroll in, it would be better to contact that office. However, any financial aid office can help and assist students and parents with that process.
Excellent. That's good to know. So it does sound like there have been some kind of significant changes with regard to timeline. So for parents who may have been planning ahead 2 or 3 years ago, it's probably good for them to go back and kind of review some of this information now because it may have changed
Yes.
from where they were before.
Yes.
Good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry. Did you have some things that you have for us to look at from
Well, I
Midlands
think,
Tech?
yes, there's some information we wanted to make sure that parents and students understand that at the two-year technical colleges, we offer some of the same financial awards that are offered at the four-year institutions. Federally, we do offer Pell, the Federal Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant. We offer student loans. We also offer most of the same state awards. One thing that we like to make sure that all high school students are aware of is that when it becomes to the life eligibility requirements for two-year institutions, you have to graduate from a South Carolina high school and have a 3.0 GPA. So the
Okay.
requirements are a little different for two-year versus four-year as it relates to the life scholarship, but all of the other requirements are the same.
And let me ask you this, because I know that there are also a number of adults who go to school at Midlands Tech who may also already be working as well.
Yes.
Are adults who are going back to college eligible to apply for these as well?
They're eligible to apply for financial aid as well, yes.
Okay, thank you. I know we've had that question before, so I know that there are people out there who are trying to get back in their groove and go back to school, so that's good to know. Our next presenter is Dr. Karen Woodfolk, Director of Special Services for South Carolina Commission on Higher Education.
South Carolina residents are very fortunate to have a variety of financial aid opportunities for them in this state. We are very thankful to the General Assembly for making these financial aid opportunities available and in turn allowing for several of our citizens to take advantage of higher education opportunities. They have to be a South Carolina resident in order to take advantage of these programs. Also, a student has to be a degree-seeking student in order to be eligible. Also, if a student owes a refund on a federal student aid program, then they would have to check to see whether or not they would be eligible for these state scholarship programs. Please make sure that a student, South Carolina resident, is eligible before pursuing these opportunities. The very first program we're going to talk about is the Palmetto Fellows Scholarship Program. This is an opportunity for students who are academically performing at the top level to receive financial aid to go to college in this state. The application process for a student who is going to pursue the Palmetto Fellows Scholarship opportunity is number one, to consult with their high school guidance counselor to see if they, of course, meet the eligibility requirements. The student must enroll in an eligible South Carolina institution immediately upon high school graduation, and also they must attend a four-year institution here in the state. If they do receive the Palmetto Fellows Scholarship, they may receive up to $6,700 in their first year, and that will increase in their sophomore, junior, and senior year to $7,500 for a period of 8 consecutive semesters or 4 years. The student must earn a 1200 on the SAT or a 27 on the ACT. The student must also rank in the top 6% of their sophomore, junior, or senior year. Then finally, a student must have a 3.5 high school GPA based on the uniform grading scale. As an alternative criteria, a student can earn a 1400 on the SAT or a 32 on the ACT and earn a 4.0 GPA based on the Uniform Grading Scale in order to meet the criteria. For the Life Scholarship Program, there is no application process. The award is a maximum $5,000 annually, which means $2,500 per term. The student must be a South Carolina resident at the time of high school graduation and at the time of college enrollment. Once they enroll in college, they must continually be enrolled in order to receive the Life Scholarship. At a two-year institution, a student must have a 3.0 GPA based on the South Carolina Uniform Grading Scale. If awarded at a two-year institution, a student has up to four terms of eligibility at a two-year institution. To be eligible at a four-year institution, a student must meet two of the following criteria. The student must have a 3.0 GPA based on the Uniform Grading Scale. Also, a student must score an 1100 on the SAT or a 24 on the ACT. And then also, another criteria, rank in the top 30% of the graduating high school class. Again, 2 out of the 3 criteria. There is an opportunity for students who are majoring in science or math or any of the technology fields or engineering may be eligible for a Palmetto Fellows or a Life Scholarship enhancement. First of all, the student must be enrolled at an eligible four-year institution, and starting in the second year of their award, again, that would mean the sophomore year, the student could receive this math or science enhancement. The student must earn in the freshman year at least 14 credit hours in math or science in order to be eligible for the science or math enhancement in the sophomore, junior, and senior year. Another scholarship opportunity is the South Carolina Hope Scholarship. This particular scholarship allows for a student who is a freshman to receive additional financial aid. It's for four-year South Carolina institutions only. There is no application process. A student must earn a 3.0 GPA based on the South Carolina Uniform Grading Scale. And this particular scholarship allows for eligibility for 2 terms. The maximum award is $2,800. There's another opportunity for students to earn financial aid in this state, and that is the Lottery Tuition Assistance Program. The Lottery Tuition Assistance Program is awarded only at the 2-year technical colleges or the 2-year USC regional campuses and Spartanburg Methodist College. The student must complete the free application for federal student aid, we call that the FAFSA, each academic year, and eligibility for lottery tuition assistance is determined by the institution. For the 2014-15 academic year, that's fall, spring, and summer, an eligible full-time student may receive up to $1,140 per term. If the student is part-time, they may receive $95 per credit hour to be used towards the cost of tuition. Another opportunity for students to take advantage of the financial aid programs in the state is the South Carolina Need-Based Grant Program. This program is available at the 2- and 4-year public institutions around the state. Based on need, the student may receive up to $2,500. Please note that that amount may vary per college or institution. Many of those particular programs are based on limited funds, so it might be where it is a first-come, first-served basis for many of the students. So check early, check deadlines, and make sure that you can find out about all the information so that you can apply as soon as possible.
So, Karen, welcome.
Thank you.
It's good to have you back again this year. So there have been some changes that you would like to update us on, and I know one of them has to do with the SAT super scoring. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yes, the SAT, of course, the College Board redesigned the SAT last year. However, the criteria for the scholarships did not change. We did not want to upend students who are currently working on getting a scholarship. So we currently do what we have been doing before, which means that a student can take the highest test administration, the highest score in any test administration of the SAT in order to meet the eligibility requirements for Palmetto Fellows or the Life Scholarship. If they took, for example, the math section maybe last year and still within the cycle, they wanted to see if they can get a little bit higher, maybe on the critical reading, they can do that. And of course, that allows several opportunities for the students to meet the eligibility requirements. So we're still allowing super scoring. Beyond, of course, the new or the old, don't worry about that. Just, of course, continue to use the highest test setting for each of those scholarship programs.
That's good to know. Thank you. We also have another question for you that's just come in. We have obviously had some changes in our grading scale this last year in South Carolina. And so our question is, how is the changing the requirement, the grading scale changes, how have they impacted the Palmetto Fellows? And what can we expect from that?
Yes, Dawn, for this year, we're not making any changes. So students, seniors who are at this particular point in the midst of receiving 1 year's worth of the 10-point scale this year and 3 years worth of the 7-point scale this year, we, of course, are not making any changes this year for the scholarship criteria. However, we are looking at changes to the scholarship criteria in a graduated scale, so that makes sure that we're not going to harm students immediately, and of course they have plans. So we want to make sure that we're looking at this very, very carefully. So I would say stay tuned. We are looking at the criteria as we, of course, align ourselves to the new 10-point scale.
So our current seniors can breathe a little bit.
They can breathe very easy this year. We're making no changes this year.
That's good to know. Now we have Katie Harrison, who's the Deputy Director of the South Carolina Tuition Grants Commission, and she's going to share some information with us as well.
The state of South Carolina offers a South Carolina Tuition Grant Program, which was enacted in 1970 by the General Assembly to assist South Carolina residents to pay the tuition at one of 21 eligible private colleges throughout the state. This year, the Tuition Grants Commission has assisted over 13,000 South Carolina residents. The tuition grant is a need-based grant program, meaning that the student has to demonstrate financial need as a result of the free application for federal student aid. There is no separate application for the tuition grant. It is all determined electronically by the FAFSA results. Once the FAFSA is completed, if all residency questions have been completed accurately, and if the student lists one of the eligible 21 colleges, then that student will automatically be considered for the tuition grant. In order to qualify for the tuition grant, a student must be participating in an eligible undergraduate program at one of our participating institutions. They must also be enrolled full-time at one of those colleges in order to receive the grant. By statute, there are also academic qualifications in place as well. In order to receive the grant for the first time, an entering freshman student must meet one of 4 academic qualifications. They must either have a 2.0 on the South Carolina Uniform Grading Policy at high school graduation, or be in the top 75% of their graduating class, or have an ACT score of 19 composite, or an SAT score of 900, and that's the critical reading and math only. In order to continue receiving the tuition grant once they have enrolled in college, the student must earn at least 24 semester hours per academic year and must also be maintaining satisfactory academic progress at their individual institution. The FAFSA does have to be applied for each year. June 30th is the application deadline for the Tuition Grants Program. Apply for the FAFSA early. As soon as you can when Financial information is available. The FAFSA should be completed as soon as possible during the application process. The Tuition Grants Commission has a website, www.sctuitiongrants.org. On that website, they can find eligibility requirements, residency information, and a list of all the participating colleges, and their financial aid office information is available on the website as well. Funding for the South Carolina Tuition Grant and the other state programs that have been discussed tonight are made possible by generous support through the South Carolina General Assembly, and we would like to give the legislature credit for continuing to realize the importance of higher education in our state and for continuing to fund these important student aid programs.
So welcome, Katie. We're glad to have you with us tonight as well.
Thank you, Dawn.
So one of the questions that we have received before is, can receiving a scholarship impact your financial status if you are seeking a need-based financial aid? Can that impact?
It can, but in most cases, Dawn, there are two separate types of eligibility that you're looking at between a grant and a scholarship. Usually you can receive a grant in addition to a scholarship in most cases.
Okay.
Scholarships are typically merit-based, or as Joey mentioned, may be based on a talent of some sort. So there's a totally different criteria set that we look at versus need-based aid and need-based grant funding. So for the most part, for instance, if a student is at one of our participating private colleges and they're eligible for the tuition grant, but they also earned the Palmetto Fellow Scholarship, they would be able to receive both of those together.
Okay, so just because you get one doesn't mean you're not eligible
That's
for
correct.
another one. So that's good news.
Yes.
That's good news. Another question we had, and I asked a little bit about it earlier, but I noticed a lot of the criteria that are for students to apply for these, some of the criteria are about them having their placement in their class or percentage in their class. If it's an adult applying to go back, do they have the same criteria, or are the criteria different in any way for an adult applicant?
For the tuition grants program itself, we do have a little bit of leniency for our adult learners, and we certainly encourage students who are adults and want to go back and complete their degrees or begin their degrees even. 14 of our 21 participating colleges offer such programs for adult learners, evening programs for non-traditional students, and those students are possibly eligible for the tuition grant. They don't necessarily have to meet all of those requirements as if they were a student right out of high school.
Right.
There's kind of a 5-year grace period that we give them.
And that makes sense, because so much about our K-12 system is different than it may have been when they were in high school, whenever that may have been. So
Exactly.
that's good news for them.
Yes.
Good, thank you. Thank you. So our last presentation comes from Regina Smith, coordinator of the TRIO program at the University of South Carolina.
TRIO programs are available throughout the United States. We provide services to students and families, and they are college access programs available to help students to prepare for, get ready for, and be successful in college. Our focus is working with first-generation, low-income students to provide college access, but we do have programs that start as early as middle school. We work with students to, first and foremost, let them know that college is an option, because a lot of times students and families think that college may not be available for them. They just don't know the right questions to ask or the right people to talk to. We're there to guide them from start to finish, and we are not there just to get them to the door to college. We're there to make sure that they actually graduate from college. We have 5 TRIO programs. We have Upward Bound, which is a program that most people are more familiar with. We have Educational Talent Search, which is a program that works with the students as early as middle school. And we have the Opportunity Scholars program that works with students who are currently in college. We have the Ronald McNair program that works with students who are currently in school, but they are wanting to pursue a higher education, graduate school. We have the Educational Opportunity Center that works with adult students. College Goals South Carolina is an initiative to help students around the state to complete their FAFSA form, the free application for federal student aid. At this workshop, students and parents can come get their financial aid forms completed and start that entire process from start to end, get help that they need, and it's totally free of charge. It will be happening across the state in various high schools and college campuses. My advice to students applying for financial aid is to start as soon as possible when the process begins. And it really starts with completing the free application for federal student aid. That is really the process to start all kinds of doors opening for the entire process. Need-based aid and other types of aid, they all will start with using the FAFSA form. A student who's interested in participating in TRIO programs, they first need to contact their guidance counselor in their schools, and if you're in middle school, they can go to the middle school guidance counselor, or high school, the same thing. The guidance counselors are there as the first line of information because all of the different programs that they have on their campus, they will know about. And if there is a TRIO program that is available at their middle or high school, certainly contact your guidance counselor. We work very, very closely with guidance staff to provide all the services that we give to the students and parents.
Regina couldn't be here with us tonight, but her colleague James Prince Jr., coordinator of the USC Upward Bound program, is here to talk with us and answer any questions you may have about the TRIO program. So welcome, James.
Thank you.
I know when that video went to Regina, some people watching may have been like,
where is she?
no, that's not Regina.
Right.
So could you share with us some more details about the Upward Bound program that you have here at USC?
Our program has been at the university for 50 years. We celebrated our 50th anniversary this past year in 2016. So
wow.
We've had it since its inception. But our program provides not only advice about financial aid and college admissions, but we try to provide holistic services for students so that they are prepared for college. We talk about financial aid and we talk about college admissions, but we also have to consider the culture shock that some students may have when they get to college, just because they are not used to the rigor of the academics. Sometimes being away from parents can be difficult for students. And so for Upward Bound and other TRIO programs, we make sure that we provide them with services that kind of prepare them for that. So we provide workshops on study skills, test preparation, how to deal effectively with professors at your campus, how to get along with others in the dormitory. Especially for Upward Bound, we have a 6-week summer program where students stay on campus in a dormitory away from their parents. We have them 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. They sign in on Sunday, the parents drop them off, and then they pick them up on Friday. And so it is our responsibility to ensure that they are prepared, especially through our summer program, so they get a glimpse of what college life is like. So when they get there, they're more prepared for that college life.
And how far in advance can they participate in that? Is it like just the summer or the semester before they begin, or is that something they could participate in earlier in their high school career?
Well, for Upward Bound specifically, you're going to find that answer is going to be different depending upon the Upward Bound program at whatever university has the program. But specifically for USC, we like to get our students when they're in the 9th grade and provide them with all 4 years of service. And so they get in the 9th grade and they begin their summer activity after they've completed an academic year. So during the academic year, we provide tutoring on Saturdays. We provide those enrichment workshops on Saturdays. We go out to the schools and we do school visits through the guidance counselor offices, and we kind of work with them at the schools as well. And then once they go through the academic process, then for the summer, they come on campus and we provide services like SAT preparation, ACT preparation. We also provide a math and English course for our students. So if they're taking a math and English the next academic year, we provide a prep course for them. So it gives them a leg up kind of sort of before they begin the new academic year. But we do like to get them in when they're freshmen, and in that way, we've given them all the services over a 4-year period so that they're really adjusted to the college life before they even get there. So it's a great program there.
And the application process for that is they don't have to go through, or I'm asking, a FAFSA or something like that.
No,
in
they
9th
don't.
grade.
No, they don't.
So it's a separate application process for that.
Yes, yes. Just as Ms. Smith mentioned in the video, we work through our guidance offices. So if students are interested in joining our Upward Bound program, they just need to see their guidance counselor. The guidance staff kind of contacts us. We provide an application for them. A lot of parents get scared when they see our application. It's about 15 pages long, but when you're talking about providing those services and having your students there on campus and leaving them in our care, we just have to make sure that we have all the information that we need to take care of our students.
Of course.
But it's a simple application process. They fill it out, we do an interview, and then we accept them based on their potential to go to college, if they really have a drive and want to go to college. So yeah, and that's the Upward Bound process. Now it's different from our other 4 programs. It kind of varies, but Upward Bound specifically is.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
sharing that with us.
No problem.
So we do have some other questions that we have received from some of our viewers. And you all can just, if you have something to add or you want to respond to it, it's just jump in and answer. So one of the questions is, what is the source of funding for most of the state scholarships?
I'll answer that question, Dawn. The source of funding for many of the state scholarships actually come through the South Carolina Lottery Commission. Years ago, back in 1999, the General Assembly approved a system in which scholarship dollars could be funded through the South Carolina Lottery. Not only the lottery, however, and many people think that it's only the lottery that funds this, but of course there is state funding for the need-based grant and other programs, state programs as well. But primarily the revenue source is the South Carolina Education Lottery.
That's going to answer a lot of people's questions about where all that money is coming from. Another question also, and this is a question that I know that we have actually been grappling with in my school district to find out more about. When you have students who are enrolled in dual credit courses or who, even if it's not through the district, if they're on their own, they're taking credit, do they qualify for any sort of aid or scholarship as high school students?
I'll take that one.
Okay.
At the 16 technical colleges in the state of South Carolina, if a student is enrolled in the dual enrollment program while in high school, the students may qualify for lottery tuition assistance to assist with their paying for their educational expenses.
Okay, are there any criteria for that? Like, do they have to have so many classes, or can they just do it with one class, or do you know?
The student has to meet the requirements of our admissions process.
Okay.
And then for financial aid purposes, there's a lottery tuition assistance waiver that they would need to complete in the financial aid office, and then they will be eligible to receive the award.
Excellent. I know a lot of students are really interested in doing that now and trying to get as many courses under their belt as they can before they actually graduate.
Dawn, if I can add just a little bit more, the Lottery Tuition Assistance Program is a program which will allow for both adults and for dual enrollment. Students have to take a minimum of 6 credit hours throughout the entire semester. And as you know, a semester is 16 weeks in many cases. So a student could start off in a 5-week program, let's say at the technical college, or they can be in an 8-week program as well. It's still to meet that requirement. They don't have to take 6 hours at once in order to meet that criteria.
So there may be different types of course offerings.
Yes, that's correct. Makes it more convenient for a student who's doing dual enrollment or for an adult. And so we allow for that variety within a semester to meet the 6 credit hour requirement.
That's great news for students out there. That's good. Another question that we have is, why are schools so strict about not allowing exceptions with regards to the FAFSA deadlines?
I'll take that one, Dawn. You know, I think we wish we had enough money for everyone. You know, we wish we had enough to give everyone who applies and is admitted enough money to cover all their expenses, but the truth is we don't. So we have to go by something that's fair and above board, and a deadline is by far the best way to do that. So at USC Columbia, when we look at awarding students, we look at a first come, first serve. The earliest FAFSA filers who get the application to us quickly and respond to any requests for additional information are the ones that are considered first, and they've got to meet that deadline. So we believe that is the most fair and above board way to distribute those limited dollars that we have.
So that's why you guys keep saying apply early, apply early.
That's right.
Right. That's good. Guidance counselors in each school play a key role also in preparing students for college. They also provide students and parents with great information about how to make college affordable. Let's take a quick look.
The The guidance counselor at your high school is the key person to provide students and parents with current information to help you plan for college. Get to know the guidance professionals at your school and take advantage of their expertise. Financial aid is an equation that involves the college representative, the school guidance counselor, the parent, and of course, the student. Ultimately, the students should be responsible for exploring all scholarship opportunities. The guidance counselor is there to assist you and point you in the right direction. Do not assume you won't qualify for different types of financial aid. And likewise, do not rule out applying to a college because of cost. Each institution's website should feature a net price calculator. Use this to determine all possible costs in addition to tuition. Make sure you share these figures with your guidance counselor. Admission applications should be submitted early in the fall of your senior year. It's important to always meet all application deadlines. Be thorough and prompt with all your communications with colleges and agencies. Document everything and keep copies of all the forms you fill out. Most importantly, stay in contact with your chosen school and your guidance counselor. Together, you can determine the best way to make college affordable.
So I have a question, actually. It's a great follow-up for this question. So this is from a parent and a student. How much can an in-state tuition student expect to pay for a bachelor's degree on average if they were to start school at one of the major institutions in South Carolina next fall? No one wants to answer that one.
I think, again, it depends upon whether a student's going to live on the campus or live at home, a lot of choices like that. But if you strictly look at tuition, and at USC Columbia, tuition is a little less than $6,000 a semester. So that's $12,000 a year. 4 years, you'd be looking at about $48,000.
Okay, so, and do they lock in a certain price their freshman year?
No.
Or does that change year to year?
No, it does change year to year due to a variety of different factors.
Okay. Another question that we have here, I want to make sure I can get to all of these. How can students find out more about work-study programs or how they might be able to apply for those?
I can take that one.
Okay.
At Clemson, the work-study program does require you to file a FAFSA application, and it does have a deadline because we do consider that need-based aid. So I would encourage everyone to file their FAFSA early. And at Clemson, we have a different deadline for freshmen than we do for returning students. We actually require freshmen to have their FAFSA in by March the 1st, and then returning students by April the 1st. And there's a question on the FAFSA that asks if you're interested in the Federal Work Study Program. So I would encourage students to answer yes to that question, and that allows us to find those students who are interested in that program. Most schools will, if you're eligible for that, will include it on your award letter to let you know that that's something that is a possibility. And then also most schools have officers in their financial aid office who are familiar with that program and will help students to find a job once they actually get to campus. And the Federal Work Study, that's actually how I got my start in financial aid. I was a work study student in the financial aid office at my college, and it's a wonderful program and really teaches a lot of good life lessons, responsibility, and so I definitely think it's a wonderful program, but it does require the FAFSA and you do have to apply early.
Okay. So it is on-the-job training for possible future careers.
Absolutely.
All right, that's excellent. Another question that we have, I think some of you have sort of already answered this in some of your videos, but just for clarification, after completing the FAFSA and selecting the universities with whom to send the information, will each university send information to the student about what type of financial aid they are eligible for, or do the students and teachers need to contact each prospective university's office to find out? I think this is implying that maybe they've applied to several universities. So is it one application?
A student can apply to 10 colleges or universities on one application. So as long as they list our school code on there, we'll have access to their information. Each school will communicate with the student individually, depending on what their processes are.
So they really need only fill it out one time
One application.
and just check off which schools or colleges or universities.
Yes.
And I guess as a follow-up to that question, there's so many different parts of and scholarships and grants and things they may be eligible for from that. Do students need to check off which ones that they are interested in applying for, or is it once you apply for it, they're going to evaluate and get back to you on which, however many you may qualify for? How does that work?
On the FAFSA, there are 2 questions. Jennifer alluded to one. The FAFSA will ask an applicant if he or she is interested in the Federal Work-Study Program, as well as if they are interested in taking out student loans. The Financial Aid Office doesn't want to package student loans for students who specifically say they're not interested in them. Most students will say yes to that question, and then if they decide they don't need those student loans, they can reduce them or cancel them once they review their package and decide whether or not they need those. But as far as the scholarships, institutional aid, grant, both on the federal and the state level, there are no separate questions on the FAFSA that they have to answer. It's just those 2 programs that you do have to indicate interest in. But other than that, once you've done your admissions application and your FAFSA's on file, then the school will look at anything and everything that you may be eligible for to come together with a full financial aid package.
It's very user-friendly.
Yes,
For
it's
the-
fairly
for the
seamless.
applicant. Yeah.
And I just wanted to add, since we're discussing the application itself, a lot of our students incur situations where they are being directed to websites other than the official government website for FAFSA. Sometimes they'll go to FAFSA.com or FAFSA.net, and a lot of times those are agencies that are charging the students to file their FAFSA. And I just wanted to make a note to our students who are out there to make sure that they know it's the free application for federal student aid, and it's always free. And you want to make sure that you're going to the right site, and that is FAFSA.ed.gov. If you're going to any other site to file your FAFSA that's not the correct site, and you don't want to be paying anybody to file your FAFSA.
That's really important to
That is,
know.
right.
That's, and who knows who they could be giving their information to.
Right.
That's really, that's scary.
Yeah.
We're going to take a look at a video now. This is Vincent Sanders, who has some advice for prospective college students.
Don't be closed-minded. Applying to college needs to be an open-minded experience. So you can research, look for the best options. If you want a specific career, look for a college that has good programs that are geared towards specifically, your passion and your likes and what you want to do. Also visit. College tours are very helpful. They give you a first impression of what college you want to attend and more so what type of environment. Because if you're turned off by the environment, then 9 times out of 10, you're not even really going to want to delve into the academics. The environment is what draws you in. The people is what draws you in. The relationship that you can build is what draws you in. And that helps you have a better academic career because of the type of environment you're in, what it's producing for you. So always do your research, always visit. And if you have friends who are in college, ask them how it is, what's going on, what do I need to know about college? Don't go in blindsided. Always have some knowledge of what college is about.
So I have 2 more questions that hopefully we can maybe answer before we run out of time tonight. One that I have is about saving for college in an ESA or a 529, and would either of those be a better solution than prepaid tuition programs?
Those are tough questions. I'll answer it kind of like this. I really think it comes down to each individual family as to what decision is best. Each one of those programs has a different type of return. Each one of those has different tax implications, and each one of those has a different effect on a person's financial aid package or lack thereof. So I don't know that there's one good answer. We would never say this one is always better than this one. It depends almost entirely on the family's situation. So my recommendation would be take those items, look at the benefits, look at the drawbacks, and make a decision based upon the situation for a particular family.
So those would be conversations that maybe a family could also have with your office.
It could, and
as
also
well.
with their accountant, tax preparer, anyone else like that. It's
Okay.
good to get a lot of perspectives on those types of decisions.
Good. And the last question I have for you all is, I know some types of loans, especially education loans, sometimes there are loan forgiveness programs. So I know some people may have some anxiety about taking out loans. What kind of options may they have for going into a field where they may have a loan forgiveness?
Well, I'll just start and state that they should look very carefully. There are loan forgiveness programs now in the workplace. There are lots of options now for students. We have the South Carolina Teacher Loan Program, so in specific fields, there might be opportunities for loan forgiveness as well. It's important to check because sometimes there's a service component where a student would have to either stay in the state or complete some requirement in order to receive the forgiveness. So look very carefully at that, but that's a great option for individuals who are looking at affordability and see some possibilities through a loan program, but would like to have that forgiven after a period of time.
Right. So it may be important for them to kind of research a little bit
Yes.
what the criteria would be. I know for some of the teachers that I have worked with, they have to stay in a certain area
Correct.
to be able to teach and experience that. So any other closing thoughts or comments from anyone that you just want to make sure we share with our viewers tonight?
One thing to add, Dawn, if I could, a few questions ago, the question was how much does it cost for a four-year degree at a major institution? I want to add that you have to look at that in totality. You know, there are a lot of studies out there that show that a college degree results in earnings of $1 million more than a high school diploma alone. So, you know, $48,000 with $1 million return on investment, that's an excellent investment in one's future. So we need to keep that in mind when we look at cost, when we look at borrowing. Got to keep your eye on the end result and what you benefit from a college education.
Thank you. And I just want to thank all of you for joining us here tonight, and thank you, our viewers. Please don't forget that you can join us online at any time at Carolina Classrooms, and good night.